Every day, FSBO listings slip through the cracks because you cannot get to sellers fast enough. The workflow I'm about to show you solves all of that. It scrapes Zillow data and sends it to Google Sheets in a matter of minutes. And then from there, you can go ahead and contact each seller that you're interested in representing. Before I show you the demo, my name is Matt. I show you how to build better systems, how to connect your tools, automate your repetitive work, and keep your data organized. The result, less grunt work, fewer drop balls, and way more clarity. Now, if you want to build this for yourself or follow along, I give these workflows away to email subscribers. You'll get the full n8n template and access to the Google Sheet all for free. Just use the link in the description below to sign up. Now let's check out the demo. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Is this it? Can I really automate my work and save a ton of time with just 7 nodes? And the answer is yes, you can. So let's go ahead and run the workflow. Okay, the workflow is finished. So to show you some of the data that we got back, now let's go ahead and walk through each node step by step. So the first step that we have here is a form submission. And this, if you remember at the start of the workflow, was so that we can add a zip code or zip codes to the workflow. And the reason why we need to do that is because the first API request that we're going to make is to Apify's Zillow zip code scraper, which you can see here. We add the zip codes in, and then the next step will be to run it through a code node. And the reason why I'm running it through a code node is so that we can clean up any edge case that we didn't account for. Now, what might those edge cases look like? I'll show you an example. So you'll notice that I wrote the zip codes, with a zip code, a comma, and a space, which is exactly how the Apify actor wants it. And if we don't send the data through in the way that the actor wants it, you're going to end up getting an error. And so edge cases might be something like this. You might get all the zip codes with no spaces or no commas. You might get one where there's a comma and a space and then something like this. This stuff's not going to work. Even this here with the extra comma is going to end up causing an error. And so the code node here takes care of some of that. It cleans it up, it keeps it as a string, and then it outputs an array of zip codes in the exact way that we need it in order for us to send our API request. Okay, for the first API request, this is going to go to the zip code scraper. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to the actor on Apify, and we're going to fill out all the details that we want. And the reason why we're going to do that is because when you add in all the details and click all the options that you want, it builds out the JSON for you. So you don't have to write the JSON from scratch. All we're going to need to do is add or remove a couple of things and dynamically insert a variable so that when someone enters the zip codes, they can be inserted dynamically, which I'll show you here in a second. So to build out the JSON here, go ahead and add in a zip code or two. Keep in mind, this is what is going to be dynamically inserted through the form submission. So we only need 1 or 2 here as a placeholder because we're going to remove these. Add in the minimum and maximum price if you want. I didn't because I wanted all the results back for the zip codes that I'm looking for listings for. Same thing with days on Zillow. If you do 1 day on Zillow, or if you do 7 days or 30 days or whatever, you're going to limit the results you get back. If that's something that works for you, great. But for me, I wanted everything back. The only thing that I had checked here is the for sale by owner. So once you have everything filled out the way you want it, then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the JSON tab here, and you're going to see that everything is written out for you. So we don't want any homes that are for rent. We don't want any homes or any listings that are for sale by an agent. We do want the FSBO listings, so you'll see that it's true. We don't want any listings where the home is already sold. And then we have the property or key property for zip codes. And this is where our zip codes are going to go. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to copy all of this JSON. And then we're going to paste it down here. And you'll see here with the zip codes, this is where we dynamically inserted the variable. And so everything that is submitted through the form is then sent through here, and then we dynamically insert it. And then that is what is being sent through to Apify. And then one more thing I want to show you real quick. You'll see the URL. We are going to use a post method. And then this is the URL that we need to use. You'll find that by going to the API dropdown, going to API endpoints, and then we want the URL that is for running the actor synchronously. And we want the URL that will have the actor run and finish before completing the scrape. And then you're going to copy this URL, and then we will paste it here. And then we're going to remove the query at the end, which is the question mark, followed by the token and the equal sign and the asterisk. And this is where your API is. And to add your API, you're going to go down a little bit further into your header parameters. You're going to have two of them. One is accept with the application/JSON, and then another one that is authorization, bearer, and then your token, your API key, which you can get through your admin. And then assuming you have everything set up correctly, no errors, no nothing, you will get some data back, assuming there is listings in the zip code that you entered. And as you can see here, we got a ton of data back. Images, status, price, address, city, zip code, bed, bath, square footage, all kinds of stuff. So the reason why we run the zip code scraper is so that we can get the Zillow listings, which is the listing here, the detail URL. You'll see that it has the Zillow PID, and we're going to need this for the next API request. Before we do that, though, we're going to go through and run the data through a set node. I used a set node to set up the data that we're going to be sending through in the next API in exactly the way that the next actor requires it in order for the scraper to run. And so I'll show you what I mean by that. So here in this Zillow detail scraper, which is this one here, you build everything out exactly the same way. So you take the Zillow listing that we got here, and it's going to be inserted here in the home detail URLs. You're going to mention whether or not, or you're going to add the addresses. You're going to add the status property and the unit details and anything specifically that you want. And then again, you're going to click on the JSON tab, and it's going to have all the JSON written for you. Now, what I'm using the set node for, specifically in this case, is so we can have this written. So we have the URL with the Zillow listing URL following that, and then the get method for getting that information. And so before I show you that, or go through the set node, and that's exactly what we have here. So I have one field for URL, which is this here. And then I have another one for the method in which we're getting that information. And then you'll see here that the listing URL is dynamically inserted using detail URL, which is this right here. You just drag and drop that over. And that is all the information we need to send through, because I'm going to get all of the data that I want from the listing using the detail scraper rather than the zip code scraper. And then we have a code node here. In this particular case, I wanted to make sure that we were sending the URL and method in exactly the way it needed to be sent through. So it's all cleaned up. The reason why the other reason why I'm using this is because it needs to be sent through as an array. And it's not actually an array here. It's just individual items. And so we needed this actually sent through as an array in order for it to work. So you'll see here, that's how it's getting sent through, which is exactly what it's needed here. You'll see that it's an array. And the setup is actually very similar. You get the URL by going to the API dropdown here and API endpoints. And it's the same thing. You're going to remove the query at the end. So you're going to remove the question mark, the token, the equal sign, and the asterisk. And we're going to set up everything else exactly the same. You're going to add your API key down here. And then we will take the JSON data here, copy that. And we're going to paste it here. We're going to leave the addresses blank. We're going to dynamically insert all of the URLs here. And you can see it's all sent through as an array with the URL and the get. And extract the billing units for sale, property status for sale. And that's what we're going to send through. And then the last step here is that once we have, once it extracts all of the different Zillow listings, all the data, we're going to take that data and we're going to store what we want into Google Sheets. So in order to do this, you need to create a Google Sheet. And then let's go ahead and show this data. This is just a drag and drop. So we're going to match everything based on the ZP ID, which is this here, which means if you run listing or if you run the scraper again in the future, it's going to match everything to that. So if you end up getting the same listing back, it'll just update any information that's been updated. If the house has magically grown another bedroom, added another bedroom, or if the price has gone up or down, for example, everything will be updated to that ZP ID. Now, the little tricky thing here is the listing URL. I wanted to add that here so you can quickly click through to the listing on Zillow and check it out if you wanted. In order to do that, you need the first part, the static portion of the URL in there, and then you follow that up with the listing URL, the shortened version. You're just going to take this and drag and drop it here. Now, for some of this information, because there's so much data here to sort through, and some data in some listings is available and some data is not, I actually had ChatGPT write the expressions for all of this. And so this data here is letting us know if this is an actual FSBO property. In this case, for the first one there, it's true. For this one, we are getting the name of the property, the name of the owner. We're getting the address. The phone number is actually available in here as well. Actually, is a good tip because there is another actor that will scrape the phone numbers for you, but it tends to be a little bit more expensive. You might actually test this first. You might not actually need to use an additional actor in order to pull that information. And then we have the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, the price, square footage, city, state, and zip. But as you can see here, there is a ton of information. It's one of those things to where you can either go through it manually, you can copy and paste it into another document to make it a little bit easier to go through and parse, or you can give it to ChatGPT and ask it to, ask it for advice. What data should I use? What data can I pull? And what does the expression need to look like what expression do I need to write in order to send it over to Google Sheets. So in our case, all we grabbed was the ZP ID, name, address, bedrooms, bath, price, square footage, city, state, zip, and the listing URL, phone number, and whether or not it is for sale by owner. And that's all the data we have here. What I like about this in particular is that if you do get listings that's for sale by agent, for example, and it's false, you just set up a filter real quick to easily get to the data that you need. And that's all there is to it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Don't forget that if you want access to this n8n template and access to the Google Sheet, just use the link in the description to sign up to my email list. I give many of these templates away for free, and that's the only way currently to get those. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.